Okay, itong Vroom-Yetton model na ito, meron siyang 7 questions. Is the quality of the decision important daw ba? Is the team commitment to the decision, important? Okay, dito sa Vroom-Yetton model, the 7 questions is the quality of the decision important? Is the team commitment to the decision important? Do you have enough information to make the decisions on your own? And is the problem well structured? If you made the decision yourself, would the team support it? And then, does the team share organizational goals? And the last is conflict amongst the team over the decision likely? So, yun yung mga questions dito sa Vroom-Yetton model. Okay. So, ayun ang kanyang Vroom-Yetton model. Meron pa atang kasama yun eh. And then, punta naman tayo sa Delphi method. Ano itong Delphi method na ito? Sabi niya dito ni J.M. Fivner principle, policy is as much as a result of an agreement as command. In other words, a real or practical policy must include the views of all. Sabi niya dito, personal values have an important part to play in the decision-making process. Okay. So dito kay Delphi method, it's a process used to arrive at a group opinion or decision by surveying a panel of experts. And another is experts respond to several rounds of questionnaires, and the responses are aggregated and shared with the group after each round. The experts can adjust their answer each round. Okay? Based on how they interpret the group response provided to them. So, ano ba tong Delphi method na ito? Okay. It was originally conceived in the 1950s by Otto Helmer and Norman Dahlke of the Rand Corporation. The name refers to the Oracle of Delphi. Okay. So in short, ang Delphi method is a process used to arrive at a group opinion or decision by surveying a panel of experts. Experts respond to several rounds of questionnaires and responses are aggregated and shared with the group after each round. Delphi method, yung tawag doon. May mga experts na mag-aaral kung magiging effective ba ang kanilang decision. So, affinity diagram, parang example nun yung paggawa ng thesis. Okay, so affinity diagram is a tool that gathers large amount of language data and organizes them into groupings based on their natural relationship. So it is often used to group ideas generated by brainstorming. Okay, so after generating ideas, group them according to their affinity or similarity. So ito yung the affinity diagram organizes ideas with the following steps. It records each idea on cards or notes. Okay? Look for ideas that seem to be related. Itong affinity diagram na to, siya, or similarity, it comes from brainstorming. So, yan, nagre-record kayo ng idea on the cards or notes, and then you have to look the ideas that seem to be related, and then sort cards into groups until all cards have been used. And once the cards have been sorted into groups, the team may sort clusters. So, and then, ayun. So, itong affinity diagram na to was often used for solving problems that seems to be very complex and difficult to manage, and when general argument in group of necessary. Itong affinity diagram na to ay ginagamit lang siya kapag after ng brainstorming or sobrang hirap talaga ng problems na kailangan yung isolve, na kailangan talaga bigyan ng isang napaka-effective na decision. Okay, so, or ng solution ng answer. ginagamit tong affinity diagram na ito. And then, meron tayong tinatawag na modern or contemporary theories of leadership. Well, bakit nga ba kailangan ito sa theories of leadership? Ano ang kinalaman niya sa decision making? Because all leaders naman talaga ay napaka-importante ng kanilang mga decisions, right? So, maybe siguro kaya niya nilagay dito itong theories of leadership. So, sabi niya, it is a leadership approach that is based on people and engagement, both with customers, shareholders, society, and employees. Okay. Meron siyang tinatawag na charismatic leadership approach, and then, okay, isa-isahin na natin. So, this kind of approach, method supports such a happening of leadership where influence operating on subordinates is seen as a function of some qualities which subordinates have made in their leader, or subordinates has assumes in his mind as a charismatic trait and has found that in his leader and so follows him. The leader has somehow managed to promise the employee of a bright in the organization and secure job satisfaction through his integrity. So, itong charismatic leadership theory na daw na ito has the following aspects. So, may mga aspects pa pala ito. Transformational leadership approach. Okay. Such leaders help and guide their subordinate to work for the realization of their full potential, not just limited to the completion of tasks assigned. So, yung transformational leadership approach, tinutulungan niya ang kanyang mga subordinates to meet, okay, to get their full attention, full potential. Okay, mailabas, tinatransform, mailabas yung best, okay, i-release yung potential na meron pa ang isang subordinates niya, ang kanyang subordinates. Okay, until kanilang ma-fulfill yung task assigned sa kanila. And then, moral leadership approach. Such leaders exercise their influence through behavior. Pag sinabi nating moral, through behavior or ideals or values, where subordinates see him as an idealist and try to follow him or her. So, kapag itong moral leadership approach na to, tinitingnan ka ng mga subordinates mo in your behavior, na kung saan titingnan kanila, susundan kanila. Okay, susundin kanila, or they will set you as an example. Okay, and then cross-cultural leadership approach naman, leaders who have the capacity to influence people from different cultures and backgrounds, equally who by the leader's behaviors of non-partially high intelligence, sincerity, honesty, truthfulness, get influence and follow him or her. So that is cross-cultural approach. They have the capacity to influence people from different cultures and backgrounds. Whatever is their culture, whatever is their background, so they have the capacity to lead, to influence those people. Okay, and then team leadership approach naman, where the leader by his own performance sets example and encourages the subordinates to achieve their potential and function in a similar manner that eventually reinforces everybody's work mutually. So, team leadership, when we say team, from the word itself, team. So, okay, napapakilos niya ang kanyang mga subordinates to achieve their full potential, and then it reinforces everybody's work mutually. So, nagkakaroon sila ng iisang galaw. Hindi nagiging watak-watak. Nagiging team. Nagkakaroon ng pagkakaisa. Okay? Merong isang movement na binibigay. And then, sa heuristic method naman, so this kind of approach is finding a solution to a problem that originates from the ancient Greek word eurisko, meaning to find or search or discover. Okay. So, itong problem-solving method na to, decision-making technique that uses shortcuts to produce good enough solutions given a limited time frame or deadline. So, itong heuristic method na to uses shortcuts. Okay. It used to refine a product or service over time using trial and error. Okay. So, ano yung mga advantage niya? Meron kasi siyang advantage and disadvantages. It can provide some quick and relatively inexpensive feedback advantages niyon. You can obtain feedback early in the process. Assigning the correct heuristic can help suggest the best corrective measures. And ang kanyang disadvantages naman, it requires knowledge and experience to apply the heuristics effectively. You have to be trained usability experts are sometimes hard to find and can be expensive. You should use multiple experts and aggregate the result. And the evaluation may identify more minor issues and fewer major issues. So, ayun ang heuristic. Okay? Heuristic approach. Heuristic method uses shortcuts to produce good enough solutions given a limited time frame or deadline. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng heuristic method. So, Vroom-Yaton contingency model naman, okay, it was developed by the psychology Victor Vroom in collaboration with Philip Yaton, later with Jago. Okay. This model suggests the selection of leadership style for group decision making. Itong model na to ay contingency because the leader's possible behaviors are contingent upon the interaction between the questions and the leader's assessment of the situation and developing a response to the questions. So, before you start using this kind of model, you need to consider these three factors. Decision quality. Sabi niya dito, sometimes making the right decision is critical. And you'll need to use a large number of resources. Itong mga resources na to, ito yung people, yung time, yung information, and so on. To ensure that the action you take has been well thought through and is of high quality. Okay. Kailangan talagang quality. Talagang may quality yung decision na gagawin mo. Okay, in using this Vroom-Yaton contingency model. So another is team commitment. Some of your decisions will have a major impact on your team. Tama nga naman, no? Kapag meron kang isang decision, it will give impact doon sa mga nakapaligid sa'yo, sa team mo, while others will go unnoticed. When a decision will likely impact your team, it's best to use a collaborative process. This will improve the quality of the decision and you're likely to deliver a successful result faster. Okay, yung mga key points nito is that no single leadership style or decision-making process fits all situations. Tama nga naman. Talagang walang mag-fits na na decision sa lahat ng sitwasyon. Okay, iba-iba talaga. There's no single leadership style. Kailangan maraming mga kini-consider na leadership style. Okay, sa pagde-decide using this kind of model. To find a process best suited to your situation, you need to consider a number of factors. Okay? And then, the model walks you through these factors logically to help you identify the most appropriate process and style. Okay. So, meron tayong tinatawag naman na analytical decision-making model. So, ano tong analytical decision-making model na to? Conception of decision-making a series of analytical steps. So, the model focuses on two aspects. Number one is identifying the problem and then implementing the solution. So, itong analytical, parehas lang siya doon sa nauna, no? Okay, parang same lang. Almost same. Problem identification, itong step niya, first step, you have to identify the problem and then define the objectives. What are your objectives? Okay. And then, pre-decision, you have to decide again. And then, generate alternatives. Then you have to evaluate the alternatives. And then, make a choice. And once you make a choice, you already made a choice, implement that choice. And you have first to evaluate the choice. Okay. So, iikot lang siya. Okay, and then, the OOPA loop model. So, this OOPA loop model, cycle, observe, okay, ibig sabihin ng OODA. O stands for orient, and observe, orient, decide, act. Okay, OODA, OODA loop model. Developed siya by military strategist and United States Air Force Colonel John Boyd. Okay. So he developed this based on his experience as a fighter pilot during the Korean War and later as an instructor. So it's a process in which an individual or organization responds to an event. Okay. So by responding quickly to situations and taking appropriate decisions, you can get ahead of your opponents. Okay. So pang military talaga tong loop model na to. Kasi first, you have to observe. Pang mga labanan siya. You have to orient the team and decide, and you have to put into action your decision. Ayun yung kanyang OODA loop model. Ganda rin. Excuse me. So, observe is by understanding quickly what is going on, you can observe the changing situation clearly. You will have to look at yourself and the situation as though you were an outsider and not from your own point of view. Okay. Gets and then orient. So at this stage, you will know what has to be done. Okay. This does not only concern position but also the possible option you can visualize. Orientation does not only indicate how you see the world, but also what kind of world you are capable of seeing. And you have to decide. This stage is about learning from experiences. Based on someone's current mental perspective, they make decisions and determine what actions they need to take. The right decision is taken and actions follow from this. And the action, physical execution of the decision is a fact at this stage. Okay. And may tinatawag tayong Herbert Simon's model of decision making, in which a process in which the decision maker uses to arrive at a decision. Merong three phases ng decision making according to Herbert Simon. One of that is intelligence phase. So it is a raw data collected, processed, and examined, identifies a problem calling for a decision. So in here, in the intelligence phase, the data is scanned, examined, and checked and edited. So it is sorted and merged with other data, and computations are made, summarized, and presented. In this process, the attention of the manager is drawn to all problem situations by highlighting the significant differences between the actual and expected and the budgeted or the targeted. Okay. So another second phase is design phase. So in here, it is in inventing, developing, and analyzing the different decision alternatives and testing the feasibility of implementation. Assess the value of the decision outcome. In here, the manager develops a model of the problem situation on which he can generate and test the different decision alternatives. He then further moves into phase of selection called as choice. So in here, you just select one alternative as a decision and based on the selection criteria. Okay. How do we improve decision making? So sabi niya dito, meron ditong 7 ways to improve your decision making. Ito another topic naman ito. Number 1 is learn from experience. Okay? The best decision makers, they record their decision and the way they made them. Okay? So, mga best decision makers pala, they record their decision. Nire-record, okay? And the way kung paano nila ginagawa tong decision na to, then follow that up with notes about how events turn out. However, what you should do is occasionally take time to reflect on recent decisions so you can learn from them. Wisdom comes from learning, generalizing, and then applying to the specific. Ganda. So sabi dito, learn from experience. So that is one of the 7 ways given here to improve our decision making. And number 2 is entertain doubt. There is always doubt. Okay. You can never be certain as you would like so. It's important stop pretending you have more certainty than you do have. Embrace the unknown and admit you could be wrong. Tama naman, di ba? So, i-admit mo na talagang there will come a time na may mga uncertainty, hindi mo tiyak kung ito bang gagawin mo, ito bang decision na gagawin mo maging effective ba siya. Okay, so you have to entertain the doubts. Okay, na maaari kang magkamali sa decision na gagawin mo. Okay, and number 3 is give yourself option. The more options you have, the more likely you are to succeed. But again, there's a limit. You don't want many. So again, you have to give yourself option. And the more options you have, the more likely you are to succeed. But there's a limit. You don't want too many, but beyond around 3 or 4 options lang and then you hit. This means you'll find it hard to make your decision. Okay? One option is no choice at all. 2 is a dilemma. Yes or no? 3 is real choice with 10 choices. You'll be more worried about excluding good options than about choosing good one. Okay, number 4 is argue it out. Okay, to make better decisions, encourage rigorous debate and argument. Set different team members the task of building a case of each option. Set others the task of finding flaws in the arguments. And then track the argument so you fully understand each choice and see it from different perspectives. Spot whether the argument is about the data, how it is interpreted, or about people or vision or values. And number 5 is try carrying out experiment. There is no better way to gather strong evidence to help with a decision than a well-designed experiment. Okay. Number 6 is assume your decision is a failure. Pretend you made a decision already. Now imagine it has gone horribly wrong. Ask yourself, what would have the cause of this failure? Okay. And then bring out outsiders. Bring outsiders into your decision making. Lots of research show they can improve decisions. So those are the seven ways to improve your decision making.